TV.
Welcome to Business Conversation on Clean Money TV with Odipo G, Kanyarati, and Nick Abayo. We have been touching on the Tesco Kakuzi fiasco. We closed when we were asking Kanyarati, who is in the avocado value chain, of the opportunity that has been created by this particular crisis, because the smallholder farmer who was supplying Kakuzi still has avocado. The smallholder farmer still needs to take it somewhere. So since the pipe has been closed in terms of the flow, the intake is still coming in. So it means we have a lot of avocado in the market currently, and people need to know where to take it. This is where agribusiness comes in. This is where processors like Kanyarati come in, and is about to just tell us what opportunities have been created by this crisis between Tesco and Kakuzi. Kanyarati, the opportunity that has been created there for someone like you who's processing avocado oil. Tell us about that.
Avocado is a perishable product, so it's not something you can keep for too long. I mean, 7 days, 8 days, and it's already showing signs of getting spoiled. If you don't preserve it, you lose it. If you don't export it to the, that's why by the time you pick it, in 36 hours, it's in the shelf in Tesco. So it's a product that is highly perishable. Now, my suggestion would be that we must add value to avocado by processing. I think there's once I mentioned it, but the thing is this: there are so many products that can be produced out of the avocado, and all we are doing is waiting. Yes, the avocado fruit. All we are doing is waiting for it to go whole. We don't want to get tired while processing it. We don't get tired trying to sell the other product. We don't want to do the packaging. We don't want to do the processing. Why? There's a glut right now. As we speak, all those avocados can actually be processed locally converting it to the following. You can make oil. The market for avocado oil is uncertain. You cannot satisfy it. It is used in cosmetics, it's used in cooking, it's used in pharmaceuticals, it's used in, it is in so many things. And you know what? When you press it and produce the oil, we are talking about this crude oil, which is the simplest, not complicated, and sometimes it's just pressing. Even the simplest,
and that's it.
There are this centrifugal equipment which produces a higher oil, which means it becomes virgin oil. So it's that one you can actually cook with it, baste with it, and use it for your salads and that kind of thing. Instead of always going to get olive oil. Yet we all know here, even for cooking, the avocado oil has a higher burning temperature. So it's better than using olive oil. You can actually, no, olive oil is not good for cooking, generally. Yeah, because of its burning temperature. It's low. Avocado, you can actually cook with it. So and it's healthy for your heart. It has all those fats which make sense. And all those things.
For those of us who don't know what burning temperature is. Yeah, what is burning temperature?
It means combustion.
Sorry?
Combustion?
Yes, it's combustion. Okay, now, when cooking,
please,
when cooking,
on my behalf.
When cooking, let me explain. When cooking, for them to know, I guess all they do is take a bowl, put the oil, and put a thermometer. There's a point at which now it starts burning and not necessarily remaining stable and being part of the food. Are we together? So the one for olive oil is about 180 degrees centigrade. Avocado, we are talking about 240, 250. So you can actually cook with it. Because most food, as it's being cooked, when you heat that sufuria and everything, we're talking about 200 plus temperatures. So instead of it cooking, it burns. Okay. Which is what olive oil does. Avocado does not. So you can use it for cooking. And it's healthy. It has all the good properties, you name it.
So that means even the flavor of the food becomes better.
Of course.
You should have started with that one, flavor.
He's not here, but
okay. So instead of using a whole avocado on your rice, you cook with avocado oil.
Yeah. Okay. So that's what you're saying.
Another opportunity you say about the oil.
You can make the
that's
oil.
on the flesh.
Oil is on the flesh.
Yes.
And guess what? the flesh can be turned into guacamole if you preserve it, freeze it, and export it. It's still good. That's what people use for basting. In Europe, sandwiches made of avocado are more expensive than ham.
So even after you have extracted the oil,
Yes.
you can still use it.
Guacamole.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Huh.
Because it becomes.
All you need to do is freeze it using nitrogen to a temperature which can be it still leaves it stable, and it goes. The American market needs it. They're the biggest eaters, and Europe today is also a very big market for guacamole. It's big, and you know what? You can add onions. So you see, you can add those local products which are struggling can be added to that product, and you have a better product. I think that's guacamole. Then that's the flesh. So we have the skin. At that point, if you crush the skin and press it, now you have to have a press. You can't use centrifugal. There's an oil that will still come out of it. That oil, when processed a bit with temperature, produces diesel.
From the skin.
Biodiesel. Biodiesel.
How do you apply diesel on your skin?
No, I was
In a
saying
car.
the diesel is being produced, the biodiesel is being produced from the skin.
From the skin,
Only.
yeah.
From the skin.
Yes. You can produce. Of course, it means it's not as efficient as when you process oil, but you can. Or you can even as an additive with oil, with diesel, what you call the petrochemical diesel, which is there. But you see, now out of the oils, you can export to pharmaceuticals, crude oil. They add it in so many things, in cosmetics, in hair, in body lotions, in what? There's always that seed of avocado. What are we talking about? It's the maybe 1 or 2% of oil which they a few drops in your oil, which they call avocado. But I'm serious. That oil, if you can just find a way of reducing the smell by adding other things, you can use it at home. I actually mix avocado oil in my oil, for example. Forget the brand. I put some. You buy a 50 ml for 300 shillings. Can you imagine? So 300 ml, no, 50 ml for 300 shillings. To make a liter, how many mLs do you need?
Near 1,000.
Multiply. So my point exactly. We are all being taken around and not realizing the market is there. So those farmers must come together. Now, that's not even enough. That same skin, after it's been pressed, can be used to make briquettes, which can be used for burning and run charcoal. That's a charcoal alternative. So farmers should realize, even if their product is getting wasted in the market and they know how to sell, they should ask themselves, what can we do with this skin? We don't even need to crush it. Sun dry it. Make briquettes.
There's no reject in agribusiness.
There's no reject at that point. It goes into the market. It's done. Then, at that point, then we look at the other thing. There's the pit, which is that big stone inside there. If you crush it and form a powder, which you can actually blend in your microwave. No, blend in a blender.
At home.
After you slice it into small, it will produce a powder. And that powder is healthy. You can put it in your drinks. You can put it in your food, just basting on top.
It's actually a superfood.
It's a superfood. You lose nothing on the avocado, end to end. It's a product that is so solid. Now, farmers need to hear this, need to internalize, and come together and ask, what can we do with our product? Forget even what they have exported. All the waste, I think they lose more, 30-40% of what they grow.
Currently, probably around 15. You see, because
15%.
The reject rate in
growth.
Kenya, probably 20%.
Exactly.
The reject rate in Kenya is very high because of what is called post-harvest handling.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
All that now, what does it do? We're not big on eating avocado in this country. Most of us are not. Many are not.
It's a free kind of like.
We don't look at it.
Yeah, we have it.
And when you
Go to boarding schools and...
it's of highest values in boarding schools as a way of improving the taste of the food. So my point is this. There are a lot of things we can do. We need to educate farmers. We need to open new markets. We need to create value chains. Like I said, some products you can end up improving by adding herbs into them and exporting it as that guacamole with other herbs, which Odipo will have grown. I'll add it to my product. So that they say on that side, this is a new looking, it tastes good, this is how it tastes. You can add some cheese in it, some high quality seeds. I mean, seedlings like chia seeds, what? There's endless things you can do.
Basically, you're only limited by your imagination and exposure.
Exactly.
One of the things I've come to appreciate, that I've come to note, is the whole element of whenever a crisis is formed, the opportunities that come up after it, and they are vast and they are many. When you look at the avocado, someone might be asking, the human beings, unfortunately, when we see an opportunity, we tend to see more reasons as to why we cannot do it than why we should do it. So there's a time I've mentioned this before, there's a time I visited a county where they had processing equipment in a big hall, literally in a warehouse, all of them brand new. They had dryers, they had crushing machines, they had labeling machines, all brand new. Now the county had bought for people to come and use, but no one was using. And it's a county that is big on agriculture. And that's where the difference comes in, and that's where the pain comes in relation to someone sits down and says, I cannot do anything with this particular product. They're just rotting at my farm, they're just rotting at my store. But they do not know that 2 steps away from them is an institution full of equipment they can be able to use. Now, when it comes to equipment, one of the things I will say honestly is we have a government that has done pretty well when it comes to processing equipment. Like where we started and where we put our baseline was in Kiridi, just here in Nairobi. That's where we started, and that's where very many other manufacturers have started. You go there, you register, it's a government entity, the subsidies are there, and you can be able to have a baseline in relation to starting. So, and this one applies not only to avocado. Avocado is just one. As we speak right now in November, we were mentioning before we started the shoot, is that there's a crisis when it comes to onions. Everyone has planted onions, so it seems. Everyone seems to be selling onions. On the WhatsApp groups that I'm in, there's always someone posting onions, shelves and shelves of onions. Shelves and shelves of onions. People are selling onions to as low as, I was being told the other day, someone was selling at 20 shillings a kg, 30 shillings a kg. But their estimate had gone to 80 shillings a kg. Because at the time when they started planting, there was no one, and so people imagine that by the time I'm also planting, it will be 80 shillings. Okay. Now, right now, remember, in the last show we talked about emotional decisions being made out of temporary situations and people making permanent decisions. What happens is right now there are people who have been hurt by the onion farming venture. They borrowed money, they went and they sold their cars, they went and donated an organ to get the capital, and now things have gone totally opposite. Chances are, again, 4 months ago we said that there would be a crisis right now, and there is. Chances are, 4 months from now,
there will be another crisis.
Yeah, onion prices will go up because there won't be any onions in the market. Okay? Now, agriculture, and this is why I like distinguishing between agriculture and agribusiness. Agriculture will base its decisions on what had happened. Okay? Agribusiness will base its decisions on what is going to happen.
Yep.
So for instance, someone right now will say they are not planting onions. Why? Because of what happened. Okay.
Or what is happening.
Or what is happening currently. Yes.
Yeah.
Someone who's doing agribusiness will look at it and say, what is going to happen? There's going to be a glut in the market. So what will I do? Kanyarati was talking about agro-processing, So what will I do? I can be able to get those onions and dry them and powder them and hoard them, because I know in 4 months
there'll be a glut.
People will want onions. And the only thing I have done to this onion, the only thing I've done to this fresh onion is just dehydrate. I've just removed the water. So it is still as potent, it is still as aromatic, it is still as good, it is still as nutritious. If anything, I have increased its shelf life.
Yeah.
Okay? So I can be able to sell at a premium my onion powder 4 months from now based on me buying the product right now cheap. I can be able to process it in all the government institutions that are there that have dryers at a ridiculously subsidized rate, and I can be able to store them properly. So you see, this is where now an opportunity is created in every single form of crisis, okay? Right now, chances are there's someone somewhere who can be able to sit down and see that since these farmers need people to buy or someone to buy their avocados, that's an opportunity that has already been created right there. Looking for market for the fresh avocado, for the peel of avocado, for the avocado pit itself, for the oil, and so on and so forth. So the only thing that limits us when it comes to taking advantage of a crisis in agriculture is our exposure. Now I'm wondering, Nick, when it comes to the avocado farmers, are you seeing any form of opportunity that has been created for the avocado farmer to be able to benefit from this particular crisis that has happened, or rather that is going on? So before it is resolved, what opportunity can the avocado farmer have, see, understand, and utilize to benefit?
Thing is, as you've said, opportunities are limitless. They are as far wide as our eyes can go. The current situation has brought into play the underbelly of contractual farming. Okay, this is whereby this guy is locked by probably an exclusivity clause in a contract. So at this point, you can cite such a happening and walk out of the contract. Then, just like every other company, all of us here have at some point had a taste of Nescafe or any form of coffee. Okay, assuming it was exclusively to you, we wouldn't have had that taste. So this is the time avocado farmers need to sit down and market themselves. Market yourself to every other avocado export company. If you market yourself to 10, there's a high likelihood 6 will come back to you. Why? Because they need your product. Okay? So you can decide and say, in this season, I want to make X. Do your numbers, write them down. And say, in this season, I want to make, let's say, 1 million shillings. I can make 1 million shillings by selling to you at 8 shillings, at 10 shillings, 5 shillings, 7 shillings, depending on the level of the desperation of the company. Yeah. It is high time they look at it that way, and they'll be able to make more money. Because if you lock your fruit at somebody else, you lock the price.
And one of the things I think we'll also touch on, which will be very good and probably for our next shows, is the whole aspect of contract farming and exclusivity when it comes to contract farming. The do's and don'ts of contract farming, the pros and cons, basically of contract farming. Even some of the companies that are best known to honor their contracts, because some don't.
Yeah.
I have been left with product after harvesting, and yet I already have a contract.
Yeah.
You see, what are some of the things that also the big organizations like, what's this one called? AFC, organizations like AFC and Youth Fund, and even banks, how they can be able to embrace the whole aspect of contract farming. Because unfortunately, by the time I was getting some of my first contracts to do contract farming, there was no institution willing to use that contract farming
as collateral.
Yeah, use that contract as collateral.
That's futures.
Yes, yeah, the whole aspect of futures. They were not there because the conventional way is: do you have security? Do you have land?
Do you have a car?
Do you have a car? Do you have a house? So they wanted something tangible
To hold on.
to that is at least 1.6% more.
There's a company that is looking at setting up in Kenya that is really going to throw the element of contract farming into.
Oh really?
Yeah.
What's the whole model?
For them, it's just that contract that they want.
Once you have the contract,
They'll give you the
verify it.
funding.
They'll give you the funding at 1.7% a month.
Okay.
Yeah. So they
In
are
a year, that's almost 20%.
17.
So that's 10 months.
Yeah.
We're talking about 20% a year.
Yeah.
Which is still cheaper than
Than most banks. Yeah. So what they do is they give you that money. The only thing they need is the contract. Of course, they'll do the other KYCs,
Yes.
but the only thing they need is your contract. They don't need your security. They don't need nothing. They have set up in different countries like South Africa, and they're currently one of the largest lenders around there. Yeah, so that's what they're looking at doing. I met their trade manager last week. Yeah, and the meeting was very productive. So once they come in, these are companies that will be able to really support farmers.
One of the things I'm also really hoping is that like the new banks that have come in, you know, the way ABSA bought Barclays Africa, and right now we just saw the launch of, is it Access? They bought Transnational. Access
they
bought
did.
Transnational.
And Kingdom Bank.
Kingdom Bank,
Cooperative Bank.
buying Jamibora. One of the things that I'm really hoping, especially when it comes to these banks and the transitioning and the new things that they're bringing in, is that they will consider highly changing their policies when it comes to agriculture and agribusiness.
Also, farmers need to look at ways of doing their own farming, because you don't necessarily need to own a tractor. Most banks now have a leasing department.
Yes, you have just reminded me. Like, in fact, not only banks, but also, which company was this that called me the other day? They have a very interesting model. So they have mini tractors for 1 acre, 2 acres. They can, okay, it can do 1 to 5 acres, but they lease it out to farmers instead of buying. So you might not have the 2-3 million that is needed to buy this particular tractor.
Just put some money down.
Yes, but you have the 3,000 per day.
For them to work for you?
Yes. So 3,000 per day per acre. They come and do your 3 acres, my 5 acres, 4 acres, and the machine goes back to the factory. Personally, I think that is a
It's a game changer.
Dynamics of farming need to change. Just before we really deviate from what you are talking about, the dynamics of farming really need to change, such that I always ask every farmer, can you do something with 0 cost? What does that mean? Use your networks. You see, if there's somebody somewhere who knows somebody who works in that company who will come farm for you. Okay, so as a farmer, expand your networks. Okay, don't only lock yourself into the Kirinyaga group, yet stone throw away in Muranga, these guys are getting this support.
Yes.
Yeah, find a way of you guys doing it. You see, so the farming dynamics is like that. This part, we need to really look at agriculture more of a business than it is a culture.
Good.
Because of one thing, we are here to make money. We are here to help advise these farmers on how they can make money. Okay, so if we know these opportunities of support, there's a show one day we need to just come and say, go to XYZ, they'll sort you out. You see, so that these people can also not just say, you guys just talk, you don't give us solutions. Yeah, so one day we just need to come and talk about contractual farming, machine lease, and all that.
With a representative of 1 or 2 of those companies.
Yeah, we'll expand this table and have more coffee. Yeah, so that we can have such conversations going. I think the show will now change into more of a solution-oriented program. We've shown farmers how to do business. Now let's start giving them actual solutions.
Which is very true. Like the other day when we had Oscar, Transnational, which is now Access, and he gave us some brilliant points in relation to agribusiness and funding. We have someone very interesting from SBM, who will be coming on board also, so that we can just be able to look at again the other opportunities that are there from the other side, from another entity, another bank, you know, and seeing other places where people can be able to get funding. But even as we close, it's just good to do a basic summary. This whole situation between Tesco and the accusations labeled against Kakuzi have taught us quite a bit. Have taught us that when it comes to agriculture, when it comes to farming, when a decision is made at a certain level, the ripple effects touch on everyone until it reaches the smallholder farmer who only has 30, 40, 50 trees of avocado, you know. But one of my key takeouts that I've really appreciated is that we have finally come to see that the opportunities that are there in agribusiness can be created very easily from the crisis in agriculture. Every single year without fail, there is always a crisis in agriculture. There is always a crisis caused by a glut in the market. Always, without fail. For the last few years I have done farming. January, February, March, April, every 4 months, 3 to 4 months, there's always a crisis because there's always a glut of something.
Yeah.
You know. So right now, we would encourage anyone to look at things not based on not where they are from to where they are, but from where they are to where they are actually going. And that is the essence of agribusiness. That is the essence of how people will be able to generate revenue. Nick, you've also touched on not putting all your eggs in one basket. It's very important to learn the whole aspect of contract farming, the do's and don'ts, and we'll talk about that with personal experiences, you know, and see how we can be able to maximize the benefits of contractual farming. Kanyarati has closed very well when it comes to thinking outside the box, thinking aloud, thinking wide, thinking broader when it comes to agribusiness and agro processing and value. And he's touched on doing more for various industries and not focusing on just one industry. That is the end of the conversation, and the topic has been in relation to Tesco and Kakuzi, and we have had so much fun and so much information, and I hope that you can be able to extract 1 or 2 things that can be able to help you, even if you are not in the avocado value chain or have not been affected directly by this Tesco Kakuzi fiasco. Because when it comes to the opportunities available in agribusiness, they are immense, they are wide, and you're only limited by your imagination, because wherever there's a crisis in agriculture, there's always an opportunity in agribusiness. This has been Business Conversation on Clean Money TV, agribusiness to be specific, with me, Odipo G, Kanyarati, and Nick Abayo. Until next time, God bless you and thank you.